Okay, let's dive into this. Welcome to today's explainer, where we're looking at a critical, yet, often totally overlooked vulnerability sitting literally right beneath our feet. I'm talking about the trusty basement sump pump and tackling the big question, do you actually need a battery backup for it? Because really, this isn't just about plumbing, right? It's about safeguarding your entire foundation when the weather outside gets rough.
Now, it might seem like a super straightforward home maintenance question. Do you need a backup? But just imagine this scenario for a second. What happens when the exact same severe storm that's dumping inches of rain onto your property also completely takes out your local power grid? You've got this awesome system designed to protect you, sure, but it relies entirely on electricity. So let's figure out if you really need a plan B.
To build out our personal decision tree today and help guide your own risk assessment, we're going to quickly cover 5 things: the power outage vulnerability, how backup systems work, assessing your flood risk, what to consider before buying, and finally, alternatives and risk management.
All right, let's jump straight into section 1, the power outage vulnerability, or when the grid goes down. Because your sump pump, it's often your very last line of defense against a flood. Your sump pump is absolutely vital, but its protection completely disappears when storms, grid failures, or even just local equipment issues cut the electricity. For a lot of us, it stands between a dry basement and an unsolicited indoor swimming pool. But that defense vanishes the second the power drops. Whether it's a massive regional blackout or just a blown transformer down the street, your basement is suddenly left totally defenseless against rising groundwater exactly when you need that pump the absolute most. It's a pretty scary thought.
Which brings us to section 2, how backup systems work and how they go about bridging the gap during an outage. Let's move to and see how this builds. It turns out the mechanical sequence here is remarkably seamless. Step 1, the main electricity fails. Instantly, step 2 happens. The battery backup detects that power loss and just automatically kicks in. And then, step 3, a system alarm goes off to alert you. This whole sequence is absolutely critical because it stops water from rising up to dangerous heights during those crucial first few hours of a blackout. It buys you time.
So, how do you know if you need one? Let's get into section 3, assessing your flood risk and evaluating your home. Time for a little personal audit. The data actually reveals a pretty stark contrast in who needs these setups. Are you in the high priority bucket or the optional bucket? Well, a backup is a high priority if your home has a history of seepage, a finished basement, or you get frequent outages, maybe during wet seasons with consistently high groundwater. On the flip side, it's probably optional if your outages are super rare and your basement naturally stays bone dry all year round. But listen, if you are in that high priority category, a failed pump isn't just some minor inconvenience. We're talking about massive damage to floors, completely ruined drywall, soaked insulation, which by the way just invites mold to take over, and the devastating loss of personal property stored down there. When the groundwater is high, these are the massive, frankly really expensive stakes you're playing with.
Okay, so if you've decided you're high priority, let's look at section 4, what to consider before buying. We're going to dive into the technical specifications here. The source material makes a really vital point here. Quote, not all battery backups are equal. The key is matching the system's capacity and discharge time to your sump pump's power requirements. End quote. So the crucial point is that you absolutely cannot just walk right into a hardware store and grab any generic backup off the shelf. It just doesn't work that way. You really have to analyze a few specific things. First off, check your pump's wattage. Larger, higher impeller pumps are going to demand significantly more power than some cheap little backup can offer. You also need to verify its rated performance under load, see if a battery-powered alarm is included, and make sure it has direct integration with your existing hardware. And finally, check that battery depletion runtime. A short runtime might cover a quick blip in power, but it won't cut it if you regularly lose power for days at a time. Moving on to our final stop, Section 5, Alternatives and Risk Management. This is all about building resilience. Now, if a full battery system feels like overkill, or maybe it's just out of budget right now, you definitely still have options. Water alarms are great. They give you an early warning of rising levels before things get severe. You can also look into secondary pumps, which just adds a nice layer of redundancy, or explore passive backup drainage options. The whole idea here is reducing your dependence on one single piece of machinery. Because trust me, once water starts accumulating, speed really matters. Ultimately, what we are talking about is risk management. That's the strategic decision to invest in backup power to safeguard against basement flooding, rather than just relying on comfort and hoping for the best. Treating your basement is fundamentally an exercise in managing calculated risks. It's not just a fancy home accessory, it's a direct defense mechanism against Mother Nature. So I want to leave you with this to chew on. Review your current pump and ask yourself, how quickly does power typically return to your neighborhood during a severe storm? By weighing your local outage times against your home's unique water risk, making this choice becomes incredibly straightforward. Thanks so much for watching this explainer, and good luck managing your risk out there.